All right, and welcome back to another Math Friday, a very special edition, Election 2016, where TNCS votes. All right, so yesterday you went to your polls and you placed your votes for our two candidates, primary candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. All right, so today we're just going to take a quick talk about the popular vote versus the Electoral College, and you may have heard some of this in some of your classes. So when you go to the polls to vote, you are making the popular vote, and that means we count every single person and we count every single vote. However, that's not what elects the president. What elects the president is the Electoral College. So based on the popular vote, you have representatives that will place your votes for you. And we're going to spend a little more time talking about that Electoral College in upcoming days. But you'll see that question there is a lot of people have a question of, is the popular vote, should it be the way that we elect our president? Is it the might of the people, or is the Electoral College the right way to go? There's a lot to be debated on that. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to look at voter totals. So I want you to look at your worksheet, and I want you to be on the side that said number 1, voter totals. And we're going to look at the election of 2012 against Barack Obama, Democrat, and he would be the current president running for a second term, and Mitt Romney, the Republican candidate. Now you can see, obviously looking at the numbers, who won. And we would be using the math skill of comparing greater than or less than 65 million to 60 million. Now, what we want to know is how many people actually voted for the primary candidates in the 2012 election. So we use the word term how many. That helps us realize we're looking for the sum, and the sum is the answer to what type of problem? An addition problem. So we want to find out the voter totals, but before we do that, I want you to know that that year in 2012, there were 219 million eligible voters. That means there were 219 million people who could possibly vote on that day. And I want us to compare that number with the number of people who actually voted in 2012. So teachers, I want you to press pause in just a moment so that students can total up the sum of the voter totals. Press pause in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, you're back, and I'm hoping that you got the same answer as I did, which was 125,660,639. Now, if we had a little more time today, I would make you calculate the percentages of how many people who were able to vote versus how many people voted. But if you look at the top of the screen, I'm telling you that in 2012, only 57% of the people who could vote actually went out and voted. That's just over half. And this just kind of speaks to the point of how important it is for you to exercise your right to vote. Now we're going to move on to find the difference of the popular vote. And the word difference is a math term. And one thing that I want to talk about is the difference being that it's not takeaway. In a moment, we're going to find how much or how many votes Barack Obama won over top of Mitt Romney. But we're not taking anybody's votes away, not from Barack Obama or Mitt Romney. We're comparing. And subtraction is about comparing and finding the difference between the size of two numbers. So who won? How do we find out? We simply take the larger number, put it on the top, and take the smaller number and put it on the bottom. If you look on your worksheet on number 2, I've already filled this in for you. Now I'm going to tell you there is some regrouping in here. So one of the common mistakes in math, look at the ones place value, 0 minus 9. So many students put 0 minus 9 equals 9. But that is not true. If I have 0 cookies in my hand, you can't take 9 away, so you're gonna need to borrow. If you need a little help, work with a partner. Teachers, go ahead and press pause while the students find the difference. Okay, we are back, and I'm hoping that you got the same difference as I did, which was 4,519,241. So you can see out of the 125 million people who voted, this was a tight election with only a difference of 4 million. It seems like a lot, but it was a pretty tight vote. Another way to maybe see how close this vote will be to look at it like percentages. So let's take a look. 3% On number 3, the total percent of the popular vote was 50.9% of the votes went to Barack Obama, and 47.4% of the votes went to Mitt Romney. Now remember, percent means per means out of, and cent means 100. So out of 100 people. Well, I think that if you add these two numbers up, you already know that they're not going to quite add up to 100%. So teachers, you may want to press pause in a moment. I'd like the students to add the percentages. Do not forget to put in that decimal place. Okay, go ahead and press pause. All right, we are back. So let's take a look at our total. Yeah, did you notice that when you got 98.3%, it does not represent 100% of the people who voted. So what happened to that 2% of the votes? Well, in an election, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney may not have been the only candidates running. We are only working with the primary candidates of each party, the Democratic and the Republican Party. There are some independent voters out there, and we've got a couple in this year's election as well. So some of those votes. So now what we're going to do is look at number 4. We're going to find the difference of the popular vote, and this might help us get a feeling of how close this election was regards to percentages. So what I want you to do is I want you to find the difference, the answer to a subtraction problem, between 50.9% minus 47.4%. I will tell you, you're going to need to do some regrouping in that tens column, in the ones column. So go ahead and press pause for a second, and then when you're ready, come on back. Okay, you should have discovered that there was only a difference of 3.5%. And that means that was a pretty tight election. When we're talking out of 100, it was only just a sliver of 3% of the population. Of course, we know now that that totals a large number of votes, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. The last thing that we're going to do is talk about the Electoral College, okay? That'd be representing you. The Electoral College are the representatives that kind of go vote on your behalf. When you go to the polls and you go vote, you are actually telling someone to vote for you. And each state gets an allotted amount. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is. You probably will be in some of your social studies classes, but also we'll try to review it on our Math Friday coming up. So take a look. Obama received 332 electoral votes, and Mitt Romney received 206. So what we want to do is find out the difference between those numbers. So look at number 5 and solve the difference quickly. Now we don't have to press pause. You should be solving that subtraction problem while I continue talking. So with this Electoral College, it's not the person who has the most. There's actually a target score. Does anybody in the classroom know the target score for the number of electoral votes someone needs to win the presidency? Yep, that number is 270. They need 270. As soon as someone reaches 270 electoral votes, they are declared the President of the United States. It is not the popular vote, but these votes that count. All right, let's see how your math is. Did you come up with a difference of 126? Awesome. Let's move on. So now we're going to move into your results. Now, some of you may have already found out who won our election, but we want you to do the math today. All right, you have a chart in front of you on the back of your paper, so turn that paper over, and you've got it, and we're going to look at the popular vote first, and then we're going to translate it into electoral votes. And we can thank Mr. Wise for making our Electoral College, and I hope to talk to him a little bit about how he went through this process in an upcoming Math Friday. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to focus on this popular vote. And right now I want you to fill in the numbers that you see on my chart that are not on yours. And that's for 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th grade. So first of all, you're going to fill in the numbers for Trump. And then I'd like you to total those up right down here. And then you're going to fill in the numbers for Clinton. And you're going to total those up, and you're going to fill that in the same box there. And we're going to find out who won the popular vote in our school. Awesome. Teachers, you may press pause while students work with this. I hope that you wouldn't use a calculator, but if you need one, go ahead and get one. You might have one on your iPad or phone. Press pause in 3, 2, 1. All right. Now we're going to move on And we're going to see how those popular votes affect what's happening with the electoral votes. So, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to take a look. Hillary Clinton in 5th and 6th grade got 12 of the popular vote, while Trump got 11. Because Clinton got one more vote, all the electoral votes at stake, which are 62, she would get 62 electoral votes, they move into her column. So in the electoral system, college system, it is a winner take all in most of the states, I believe, except 2. That means it doesn't matter how close it is. They don't split them up. All of those electoral votes go to one candidate. Now, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to do the same thing for grade 7. Put the electoral votes in the right column, who won and who deserves all those electoral votes, and then do the same thing for 8th grade. All right, teachers, you might want to press pause for me. Okay, now that you have those things written in, you can see my column is filled in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to total up Trump's electoral votes, and we're going to put them in this box down here. And then we're going to total up Hillary Clinton's votes, and we're going to put them in the box below her. And that will tell us the student totals of electoral votes. So go ahead and press pause and do that now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, you're back. Now, I did not put in the results for you. I'm going to trust that you can do that for yourself, and you guys can compare your answers. But what I want you to do now is I want you to take the student total and add to the faculty total. And after the faculty's votes were in, the popular votes, it was determined that Hillary Clinton was the winner and therefore received 144 electoral votes allotted to the faculty. Remember, the faculty is a pretty big part of our school. That's why they have 144 electoral votes. So what I want you to do is in Trump's column, add the student total to the faculty total of 0, which should be fairly easy, and write it in the bottom box. Now go to the Clinton column and add her total electoral votes plus the 144 to reveal the number at the bottom. And once you've done that, you now know who won the election. Take a moment to look at that middle column all the way down at the bottom. I'm telling you how many electoral votes were at stake. There were 538 electoral votes at stake. However, we did not use them all. In 11th grade, there was a tie, and so we did not award the 59 votes, electoral votes for that one. So we only have a total of 479 electoral votes going out. All right, you have your filled in sheet. We only have one more thing to do if there's time. I just want you to find down at the bottom, look at the screen, there's a yellow box that says difference in popular votes. Can you just subtract to find the difference of how close that election was by popular votes? And then jump over to the red box where it says difference in electoral votes. I just want to find out the difference in our electoral votes and how close the race was. Those are some interesting numbers to look at and have a discussion with in your classrooms today or sometime in the future. All right, that takes care of all of our presidential election tallying and counting of the votes, and I promise you this election was not rigged. All right, ladies and gentlemen, TNCS, the winner for the election 2016 is Hillary Rodham Clinton. So that your voice has spoken, but I think if you really look at the sheets and see how close the votes were, you might be surprised to say, wow, this election was kind of close for our school. So hopefully in the future on another Math Friday, we might spend a little more time with what is the Electoral College so that you better understand how this works. Take good care, have a great weekend, and we'll see you at the next Math Friday.